All right, Boomer, you want to introduce yourself, please? If you can hear me, Boomer.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, depending on where you're joining from. My name is Fatima. I'm joining from Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you for this session.
All right, thank you, Fatima. Anyone else want to tell us where they're joining from?
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Boma Biega. I'm joining from Yola, Nigeria.
All right, Boomer, welcome. Anyone else?
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Hope Ojeume. I'm joining in from Edo State, Nigeria, Benin City.
All right. Hope, welcome. All right, not to waste too much time, we'll quickly move into the main activity for today. But just before that, I just want to read some statistics regarding this topic that we have today. So the topic for today is Japa of free, and Japa in itself is a Yoruba word. Yoruba is one of the most common ethnic group, one of the most prominent ethnic group in Nigeria, and that word Japa stands for elope. The word elope means to run away. So it's all due to all migration, and I just want to point out some shocking statistics about Africa. So according to Afrobarometer, which is a leading research institute leading research institute, it says 1/3 of Africans are migrating. It also says that 40% of African youths within the 25 are considered migration. This is according to the Economic Forum. Also, from the Economic Forum, we know that migration is seen as a means to escape poverty. And another shocking statistic quoting from higher education made us know that Africa has the second highest number of international students in the United Kingdom. So these are shocking statistics, and many of you agree with me that this topic is much needed, as it is a global issue across countries in Africa. We have a beautiful who is going to us on this just to so who our speaker is, bio of our speaker. Inga is a communications studies with experience in youth development, big health advocacy. Look, I know confirm they can still hear me.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So I was just introducing the speaker. Paninga is a communication for business development and community interface work with different non-profit organizations, including but not limited to Pro Health International, PHI, Save the Deaf and Endangered Languages Initiative, SDLE, and Inspire World International Foundation, IWF. Paninga is the founder of Pani World Foundation, a non-profit organization committed to raising leaders across different fields of society His long-term goal is to fill the earth with creative, productive, and purposeful people who will create positive changes in their community. Please welcome Paninga, who will speak to us on this topic. Paninga, over to you. And thank you very much for coming on board.
All right, thank you very much, Mubarak. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the pod. Like you rightly said, my name is Paninga Muilia. I am joining you guys from the US. I count it a big privilege to get a chance to share some moments with you today. I hope that this conversation would be quite interactive because the topic of discourse is not necessarily one that has a direct response, in my own opinion. And that's not exactly what I'll be doing today. But instead, we would be providing answers to the questions together, rather, to the question, right? We would be traveling the journey together, we would seek answers together and come up with answers. There may not be one particular answer, maybe a yes or no. And the answers could vary for different people depending on their interest or what they want to achieve or what they want to do for their own community and even for the world at large. So follow me as I share with you in a few minutes and then we can take questions. So give me a moment to share my slide. Just a moment. All right, so I want to believe that you can all see my slide.
Yes, we can see your slide.
Yep. All right, thank you very much. So Japa was say, and the word Japa is not a strange word, I believe, to anybody who is on the call. But if it is to anyone, it's a word that is used for, that is now commonly used for moving out of a particular country to another country. So the topic of discourse is to either leave Nigeria or leave Africa or leave your own country or stay back. That's what we're going to be talking about. So I just want to start by sharing my journey briefly. I got into campus, my undergrad, in 2014, and I became a leader of a fellowship called NIFES, Nigerian Fellowship of Evangelical Students. And I was a leader all through campus years until I graduated in 2018. But in 2015, I began volunteering for a particular nonprofit called Pro Health International. I was still an undergraduate student on campus at the time. Now, 2015 is the year is bold because it was a very significant year for me. It was the year I got introduced to what became like an open door into more of what I am doing, even the more that I want to do for the rest of my life, right? So it was a big introduction for me, and that's why the year is in bold or bold letters. But after that, I got into another organization called NCCF, which is Nigerian Christian Corpus Fellowship. I was a state coordinator from 2018 to 2019. After then, I asked the big question, what next? And I guess that's usually the question for people who graduate from college degrees or maybe high school. So mine was, what next? What do I do now that I have a degree? Hold on, I have a test. I'll just set up on. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to be sure that everybody's hearing me. So the goal for me was to Japa, which is what we're talking about today, right? Okay, yeah, Japa. And then I'm not sure the word Japa was very common at the time, but I wanted to travel out of the country. And I had my own reason. And in a minute, I'll be sharing with you my reasons for the goal to travel out of the country. But before then, I would like us to discuss, maybe like get a few points, 1 or 2 points from people. What are the common reasons right? Why people want to Japa, common Japa reasons today. I would really appreciate if one or two people, or in fact, if everybody can drop something in the chat, just let me know. What are the common reasons? Why do people want to Japa? Why do people want to travel or leave Nigeria? Why do people want to leave their own country? Please, I would really appreciate your responses. Like I said earlier, this would be interactive. So yeah, my eyes are on the chat. Why do people want to leave their country? Okay, I think I have a response in the chat. Someone says to escape poverty. Awesome. Thank you. Greener pasture, great responses. People want to leave for better opportunities. Good. People tend to jackpot to seek greener pastures. And I like that there is a trend of response, right? I'm seeing greener pastures, I'm seeing opportunities. So it seems to be reasons that align with each other or agree, or maybe even reasons that are likely the same. So yeah, those are great responses, and it's largely true, if not mostly true. And thank you very much for sharing. So for job opportunities, correct. People want to leave, people want to travel for job opportunities. So it seems they are leaving a particular location that has that is lacking something they need to another location they believe has everything that they need. So, but my own reason at the time why I wanted to Japa was because I was not satisfied with my own degree. So I made a first class degree in chemistry. I studied industrial chemistry. And my question was, what have I achieved with my first class degree? I think I'm seeing more responses for fast education. Awesome. Yes, beautiful. For scholarship, great, great responses. So I, like I said, was unsatisfied with my degree. Why make a first class degree, or what's the essence of a first class degree if your first class degree cannot create value for you? Because I studied chemistry in 4 years, but I could boldly say that I did not run. There are lots of reactions that I did not run. So I learned those reactions in class, right? The theory, I learned mechanisms of reaction, but I didn't run any of those reactions. I didn't get the chance to see the reagents. I didn't get a chance to even understand the reaction. So what I was doing was to memorize reactions and return them to my teachers or professors when they asked me for it. So they asked us to write exams and tests and return what they gave us in class. And that was it. And that's how I became a first class student, because it's, I mean, maybe not so much of a job to study so hard to make a first class degree, right? So I wasn't satisfied. So I said, hey, I'm not going to do a master's degree in this country if I am going to be receiving the exact same thing, because I want to be bold to say that I have studied chemistry and I can make good use of the chemistry I studied to create value for society. That was my own desire. But which is good, I believe, and even the reasons you've mentioned so far, they are equally great reasons: scholarship, job opportunities, things that are lacking in your immediate environment. And you're looking forward to see them or enjoy such opportunities in environments outside yours, right? Great plans or great goals. But I'm sorry, hold on, give me a sec. Good. So, but then things happen, right? The shege. Shege is a very common word now, I guess, in Nigeria, for trouble, for discomfort. And that was exactly what I went through. I had to go through, or I went through shege. I went through discomfort. And that's the reason, I guess, why people want to leave, right? We've discussed this briefly already. It's because there is a discomfort in the system. There is a discomfort. The people are not satisfied with something, and that's why they want to jack back, right? But how did we get here as a country? How did we get here as a continent? If you're joining from Nigeria, for instance, how did we get to the place where we have a mass movement of people from their own environment, which is a very integral part of their identity? How did we get to the point where you have people who are moving in mass, or who seek to move in mass to another location that is not theirs, seeking for opportunities that should be provided or could have been provided by their own immediate environment? How did we get here? And I don't know, yes, I think I would like to also have responses. If someone may want to share, how did we get here? Let me hear from you before I proceed from here. And thank you very much for contributing so far. I really appreciate the responses that are coming from you. So yes, how did we get here? If you have a response, please once again share that in the chat. I want us to interact together. How did we get here? How did Nigeria get here? Where people want to live? How did Africa get here? Where a mass population wants to leave the continent? How did we get here? Do we have responses from a few people? So my eyes are in the chat. Maybe let me hold them for 30 seconds or a minute. How did we get here? How did, okay, I have a response. I like to use the words of one of my mentors, the disease of the system. Awesome. Yeah, for me, I think, okay, bad governance. Good. We got here because our leaders do not support dreams, good brains, and hard work. You see Nigerians coming out with first class abroad and doing excellently. Amazing. Bad governance. That's true. So, and I like you to be paying attention to what people are saying, right, on the chat. We are having this conversation together because we are trying to build up this conversation to the point where we would provide answers to the question, Japa or stay. So we are having a conversation together. It's not me telling you what to do. It's me having a good conversation with you so that we can find answers together. Yeah, the environment is enabling. Many people want better for themselves and need an enabling environment. Good. I like that phrase, enabling environment, to pursue their career goals. Failed government system. Awesome. That's how we got here. It means that at one time we had all of these things that you've mentioned in the chat. At the point, we had a good government system. At the point, we had an enabling environment. Good. I see more responses. Little or no reward for effort. Yeah, I can relate very well with this. I remember when I graduated with a first class degree, it's commonly expected to say, hey, we're retaining the first class students. But that wasn't the case. But then they did a mass employment of people, like they employed people in their hundreds who were less qualified. I don't want to say they weren't qualified, they were less qualified. And those employment were basically on the base of politics, religion, or maybe you have a connection with someone in a particular industry or space. That was exactly what happened. So yes, I can relate with little or no reward for effort. Overload of work too. Imagine an undergrad doing physics, chemistry, philosophy. How did we get there? Awesome. So you see, again, like I said, all of the things you've mentioned in the chat were things I believe at some point in your country, in my country, were things we didn't have to worry about. But after a period of time, now they have become so much of a burden to us. So we are beginning to worry about what was working for the country at the point, right? Which is a big trouble. And I'd like you to see something I have here quickly. Oh, why is it not coming up? Yeah, good. So this is Tafawa Balewa. If you know, he was the first head of state when Nigeria became independent in the year 1960. And this was 6 days after Nigeria's independence. He gave this speech at the UN. I wanted to show a clip of the speech, but we don't have so much of a time on this call. But I will encourage you to listen to his speech. Awesome speech. But what really caught my attention about his speech was the introduction. When the president was introduced, guess the things that were said. They said, we are confident that Nigeria will contribute to making speedy solutions, speedy and wise solutions. Next thing, or one of the things the person said again, and the person used the exact same word again, confident, confident. So confident appeared like twice or three times when he was introduced. Again, they say we are confident that we will benefit from Nigeria's wisdom and ingenuity of thought. And one other thing the person said, that we are certain Nigeria will give inspiration to the UN on the method she's using to solve her own problem. I mean, when I listened to that, I was really inspired. I'm like, this is the Nigeria we had as a 1960, a Nigeria that the world was confident to benefit from, a Nigeria that the world was confident to get inspiration from, an Africa or a Nigeria that was certain that a Nigeria that the world was certain would give it methods she is using, like would educate it on the method she's using to solve our own problems. But then 2022, when we had Buhari, which is again Nigeria's president, right? So 1960, 2022, what we had was something different. When I listened to that speech, I saw a different leader. I saw a different country. Now, I was seeing a country that wasn't taking responsibility. If you listen to Tafawa Balewa's speech, you would see responsibility, because one of the things he was talking about was what Nigeria was doing for Congo, right? And I'm like, you're here to talk about something you're doing for other people. You're not talking about what you're doing for you. Meanwhile, your introduction was based on what you're doing for your country, but here you are talking about what you're doing for other countries. That's like responsibility. It was Nigeria that was worried about what she could do for the world. But here in 2022, we had a Nigeria that was begging, I'm sorry to use the word, but if you listen to that speech, it seems that there were some elements of plea, we need this or we need that. And in my own opinion, there was so much of grammar in the speech and a bit, not so much of substance. It's like when you want to, when someone wants to woo a young lady and is just using sweet words, playing around with words so that he could catch her attention. It seems to be what I saw in 2022. Listen to that, you will see a huge difference between 1960 and 2022. And that is the shege we are going through today. And I'm sharing this because we need, it's far more than, maybe let me not get there too quick yet, but there is so much work for everybody on the call here to do. So much work when it comes to addressing the discomfort in the system, that's the shege. So much work when it comes to doing it not just for you, even for the country, even for the continent and the world at large. Now, I want us to quickly compare shege. And again, I'm sorry for using the word shege. It's just that it's a common word. I'm using it and hoping that it would communicate the message very clearly. Now, Nigeria in 1960 got independent. Oh, I just saw that I spelled independence incorrectly. So was Nigeria gained independence in 1960? We had a civil war. Nigeria was, before Nigeria became poor, right? We were doing fine, but yes, Nigeria at some point and even now was very poor. But we have another country, which is South Korea. South Korea gained independence in 1945. South Korea in 1950 had a very severe war that made it one of the poorest countries in the whole world. Yeah. But in a couple of years, something different happened. And I'll show it to you. Now, this is South Korea when things were bad, when things were worse. So you would describe South Korea as this, when this picture was taken, as what we currently have in Nigeria, or what we currently have in many African countries. But guess what? 50 years after, something different happened. Now, when this picture was taken, South Korea was receiving so much aid from the world. It was receiving aid from the UN, just like Nigeria is receiving aid, and unfortunately, it's still receiving aid. South Korea was receiving so much of aid to address hunger, to address poverty, to address, different things. But now in 2018, this is South Korea becoming one of the top 20 donors to the World Food Program. So South Korea was no longer a recipient of aid. South Korea was now, or became, a donor of aid, one of the top 20 countries to donate. And guess how much was donated? Just guess, maybe someone guess. Guess how much South Korea donated in 2018 to the World Food Program. Just give me a number. How much? How much do you think was donated? Use the chart. Again, my eyes are on the chart. Just random number, think. Okay, 100 million US dollars. Who else? Yep, eyes on the chart. Let's have a few guesses. 1 billion US dollars. Good one. And by the way, I like the numbers. Maybe one more. Okay. Yeah, 100 million, $1 billion. Now, South Korea in 2018 donated 42.5 million US dollars. That's 2018. I don't know how much South Korea is doing now, but moving from it's if you just do the math in naira or your own currency, you will see how much how much 42.5 million US dollars is, right? So it means that South Korea moved from self-sufficiency, like it moved from wanting aid to becoming self-sufficient to the extent that she began to donate to the world. She began to donate to the World Food Program. So South Korea now started giving to the people who are giving her funds or giving her aid. South Korea became a giver. But then why do we have the shige? Why do we have shige happening? Because many times people blame, I mean, we've said bad governance, and that's true. But I call this, let me show you what I call the current power equation. Currently, if you're in Nigeria or if you're in Africa, many times we have this current power equation between citizens and political leaders. So you have citizens making political leaders, right? Because of course, we make our leaders. And even the leaders become, I mean, they come from the citizens. You don't become a leader if you're not a citizen of a country, right? Aside from the fact that the citizens vote you into power. So we have citizens making leaders. That's the current power equation that we currently have. And the catalyst that we do have now is our differences. So we have leaders who are making good use of our differences to divide us. They are making good use of our country, of our differences to harm and hurt us. So our ethnic difference, our religious difference, our political difference, they are using those differences to great harm. And they are maintaining this status quo because they know that any disruption to this current power equation will cause great damage to their pockets, to their goals, to their ideals, and what they want to achieve. But there is yet a supposed power equation. It's such that you don't have citizens making political leaders, but you have like what chemistry people will call a reversible reaction. The first power equation is not reversible. So it means that a political leader would lose great touch with citizens. But when you have this reversible reaction, you have citizens making their own leaders, you have leaders in great touch with their own citizens. It's like you are not different from the citizen. That's what I'm trying to say. And the catalyst that is used in this case, or should be used in this case, is our common grounds. So by common grounds, I mean the need for a good education, the need for good electricity, the need for health, right? Those are common grounds. And that is the catalyst for development. That's the catalyst. The same things that we lack now, that we once had, we had them because our common grounds were leveraged by our leaders. So they were leveraged to create value for us. They were leveraged to create solutions for us. So we had no need to think of moving away from our immediate environment because we already had what we do have, right? But unfortunately now, the supposed power equation is no longer in use. What we do have is what you saw, or what I showed earlier, which is the current power equation. And like I said, believe me, our leaders would not want to invest in anything that would disrupt that power equation, which is a big trouble. And again, I'm sharing this because we do need to begin to pay attention to this, because simply making a decision to either stay or travel out of the country is not enough. And we'll get to find out very soon, or make the final decision together. Now, I'm saying this, or I share this because those who made the decisions that affect today were once young, like you can see on the screen. And those who can make the decision that affects tomorrow are still young. They are also young. I spoke of Tafawa Balewa. He was young. I don't remember how old he was. Our past prime ministers, they were young. Those were young people making decisions that were affecting the futures of the country. Now, where we are today is a result of decisions that were made by people who were once young. And where we are going tomorrow, or where we would get to tomorrow, would largely depend on the decisions young people would have to make. The decisions you will make, the decisions I will make, the decision to stay in the country, the decision to travel out of the country, regardless. The future of your own country will depend on the decision you will make as a young person. And that affects everything. It affects the political decisions. I mean, it includes the political decisions we make, who we choose to be our leaders. It includes the personal decisions we make, how we choose to live our own lives. Why? Because you will be a leader tomorrow. You will be a political leader tomorrow. The person who is the current president of the country was young before, right? And he lived his life in a way, whichever way he chose to live his life. And now he's the president. Whichever way I choose to live my life, someday I could also be president. And how are the decisions that I'm making today How are they building me to create value for the community tomorrow or create value for the system tomorrow, which is a very important thing for us to pay attention to. Now, I want to quickly share with you what I call my Shege years. I earlier shared Shege experience with you, right? And I want to share with you my Shege years. So when I graduated in 2019, I did apply for like mentorship programs, like Education USA, in case you are aware. I did apply for scholarship programs. And then I had a program, a community program called the Feed and Clothes Project. We provided food items to widows and orphans. And I saw Shege that year. I saw Shege. I was done with NYC. There was no money in the pocket. There was no jobs coming around. I was hoping I'll be retained in the university. I wasn't retained. So I saw a bit of Shege. In 2020, I did another project for young people. We are providing training and mentorship to like, the goal was to do 10,000 young people. Eventually, we did 700, which was awesome. We had a nonprofit registered. I did apply for scholarship programs again, but I saw more Shege that year, more Shege from applications that I was making, scholarship applications not working out. There was no job for me, even though I made a first class degree. I think I only had the chance to work for 2 months. Yep, I worked as a high school teacher for 2 months, receiving 19,800 naira. Yes, I did so Shege. In 2021, I had some things, I did some things. I partnered with people, I sought for partnerships for the nonprofit I run, partnerships that were not just in Nigeria, but also partnerships from other parts of the world. I had clarity and renewed vision, very important. I wish I put this in bold. I still did apply for scholarships, but I saw Shege Pro Max. I remember I was making like 6K a month. And, I still had to buy mobile data. I still had to travel to a few places. So I did so Shege. I saw a good deal of Shege. But what defined 2021 for me was the clarity and renewed vision that I had. And it's very important. I'm saying this because before then, my goal, like I said earlier, was simply to Japa. It was like my goal was sincere, but it lacked substance. But 2021, with that clarity of, that clarity and renewed vision, things changed for me. So instead of asking the question or saying, hey, I want to travel out to have a degree, which is good because I don't have a good experience from my undergrad. Now I ask the question, why should I travel out of Nigeria? Why should I travel out of Africa? And I came out with reasons, a number of reasons, 5 reasons that eventually I saw how big they were. They were bigger than me. And I knew, oh my goodness, I do need to travel out of the country for these 5 reasons that were bigger than me. And boom, I had 2022. In 2022, finally got into the US. 2022, I had my team executed the largest feed and clothes project while I was still here in the US. But this time I was beginning to pull resources back home, right? I had a network of people. I was already building a network of people within like a month or two. And the people I interacted with here were giving me cash and funds to do project I am doing or working on back home. And so we had the largest feed and clothes project in 2022. And these stories will compound to where I'm taking us to eventually, okay? And before I even came, I had yet another troubling situation for me. Very troubling. I conducted this research on LinkedIn. As you can see very clearly on the screen, you will see that research education is very poor in Nigeria. Even in many places in Africa, right? Excellent. Only 6% believe or think that they received or were taught to conduct research adequately. But then 43% did not receive good education in research. 43 said unfair, but you can see that 43% for poorly is indeed a big trouble. And so what I did when I came, I had yet another program. This was executed recently in the summer, where we eventually had over 322 people registered for this program. What we did was pool resources here and in other parts of the world. We have a South African person, a trainer on the call, by the way, to educate young people on conducting research, young people in Africa, by the way, on conducting research appropriately. Because believe me, research is a very key aspect of development in any country. And that's why they spend a lot of money. And so if you can educate a young person, if you can equip a young person to conduct research, you would have created value for the country. You would have created value for the continent. And that was the idea. So you would see that even though I was away from home, a friend of mine said something today. She said, Nigga, I saw your program, or I've been seeing your program, and that it's good. I'm glad that even though you're away from home, how did she even put it? Home, you are still impacting home, something like that. And I said to her, I am away from home for home. And that's really true. I'm not away from home for me. I am away from home for me. I am away from home for home. And that's exactly the idea behind or what sponsored the Feed and Clothes project to become the biggest. That's the idea, or what sponsored this program I just showed you. And that's exactly what's going to sponsor every single activity I'm going to do here in the US, for as long as I may stay, right? I may, because things may change. And let me give you a sneak peek of the future. Still on this program I shared earlier. So much is going to happen, and I'm not going to give you the details. Very soon I'll be concluding, and then we ask questions. But there's going to be proper education to begin to revolutionize the education system in Africa for young people. Because we mentioned problems earlier that need to be solved. Either staying in the country or traveling out of the country, regardless, those are big issues that need to be solved. And this is one way for me to solve one of our problems, or some of our problems we face in Africa. Again, I said I won't give you the details, right? And I want to quickly now get your own opinion once again. How would you now answer the question? We're ending the conversation very soon. Given these few things that I've said, and then how would you answer the question, Japa or stay? Use the chat. In your opinion, given the things I've shared, I've given you a context to the problems we face. I've given you a context to what one could do, even though I may likely say a few more before we end. But based on what I've said, how would you answer the question, Japa or stay? So use the chat. Use the chat. You have maybe a few responses, and then I begin to wrap up. How would you answer the question? Again, I'm not asking you, I'm not saying answer the question, Japa or stay, right? But how would you answer the question? So use the chat. Yep. How would you answer the question, Japa or stay? Eyes on the chat, eyes on the chat. Hope to get a few responses. How would you answer the question, Japa or stay? Okay. Oh yeah, one response. Japa, John Shaibu, Japa, okay. Who else is responding? How would you answer the question, Japa or stay? John answered the question, by the way. So how would you answer the question, Japa or stay? Yep. Where are my students? Where are my people, rather? Where are my colleagues? That would depend on what is at stake. Oh my, I really love this response. That would depend on what is at stake. Yeah. So I guess one of the questions we should be asking ourselves is, what is at stake? So if I'm staying, what is at stake? If I am making a move outside of the environment, what is at stake? I really love these responses. Japa, if you feel you are not fulfilled where you are. Sarah Scott said it depends. Yep. Japa or stay. Either way, it all depends on your true interest. If the intervention behind Japa is to revive home Japa, I would say that if you have a goal set in place and your goals can be achieved in your local area, I will advise Japa for getting resources to achieve the goal. Awesome. Akinodi, awesome. A deep reflection on the purpose of Japa. You see, I'm so glad to be hearing these responses, and these responses are 100% correct. And I'm glad that I'm receiving this response, right? Because this is a learning experience for me as much as I'm also sharing. And this is a journey for all of us, like I said earlier. So yes, awesome responses and very correct. So now, let me say, let's do, I'm not sure we have so much of time. Do we have, okay, I will save us the time. But what I wanted us to do is a bit of Googling together. I did that earlier before the call. So I checked on Google. I checked Nigerians applying UK visas. There have to be a strong motivation for purpose. Thank you. So I checked Nigerians applying for UK visas. And what I saw pictures. You need to see, I saw pictures of people queuing up it wasn't a good sight to behold. Now, guess what I did? I still Googled, and I Googled Americans traveling out of America to Nigeria, something like that. Guess what? I saw pictures, like maybe visas, but I never saw a picture of people queuing up. I never saw a picture of people who were not happy about something, who were discouraged, who were treated so badly, like the one I saw when I checked Nigerians traveling out of Nigeria. So, and I'm like, really? Meanwhile, these are two different countries also traveling out of their country, right? For different reasons. But the perception or the experience for one country is different from the experience for another country. Then I did another Google search. The number of people or the number of immigrants who are in the US, Nigerian immigrants who are in the US. So let me show you this chart. I saw that as of 2018, we had, I think it was over 100, over 100 Americans were immigrants in Nigeria as of 2018. And I think the same year, we had about 345,000 Nigerians in the US who were immigrants. Now, that may not seem much, but 100,000 is a significant percentage, right? It's a significant amount from 300 compared to 345, even though it's not so much. It's still a good number. But there is no such record or pictures that, like I saw when I checked people moving out of Nigeria. And I now start to question myself. If I was going to travel out of the country, how should I travel? How? Because it seems like the way Americans will travel out of America is different from the way Nigerians will travel out of Nigeria. So it's like there seems to be some class in when Americans travel out of their country compared to when Nigerians travel out of their country, right? Someone said this guy live under the radar. Oh, my screen is freezing. Okay, good. So regardless, when travel like a king or a queen. I was supposed to say a queen. I don't know why I'm saying king or king. Travel like a king or a queen. And the idea is that if I have to travel out of a country, I'm not traveling to another country like they are doing me a favor. Instead, I'm coming to do them a favor. That's how kings think. Because I personally believe that an uncivilized person will still be uncivilized if they travel out of their own community to another community. So you would have a Nigerian living in America, but still in Nigeria. The mindset is still the mindset of their immediate environment. The things they have from their background that may not be healthy, they will still have those habits and cultures that is still not healthy. That's not how kings travel. Because in my own opinion, I think people who are traveling from other parts of the world seem to be traveling really as kings. But we have people traveling from my own country, traveling as third world countries are always portrayed to look like they are being done a favor. Yep, and that's absolutely true, which I think is what we should begin to correct. And again, someone said earlier, which is absolutely true, it depends. Japa or stay, really depends. If I have to travel out of the country, I should be traveling as a king or a queen. I don't know why this point is showing too quickly, but I was hoping it won't show too quickly. To simply leave Nigeria is a low level of operation, in my own opinion. Low level to simply leave. I just want to leave Nigeria. I just want to leave Africa. Is low level of operation because you will be traveling with a poor mindset. You're not traveling like a king. But to travel from Nigeria, to travel the world from Nigeria is a higher level of operation. So you're not leaving the country, no, but you're traveling from. It means that your movement is democratized. You know how media is democratized. You can be here, you can be in Nigeria, but connect with someone in the US, for instance, right? But then you are in Nigeria. You can also travel to other parts of the world. That's what I'm trying to say. So is that your movement is democratized, but not that you're leaving the country. Hey, I'm leaving Nigeria. Oh, I'm leaving this country. Well, that's not bad either, but that's low level of operation. A higher level of operation is to travel from. It means that I have a route that I can always go back to. It means that I have a passion to take good care of my roots, because South Korea that I mentioned earlier will not be South Korea today if everybody left South Korea. There are other stories like Singapore, very awesome country today. Also gain independence from Malaysia, I think. That's an awesome story. I think you should read if you can. Today, Singapore is one of the most beautiful places to live in the world. Very developed, but it was underdeveloped very many years ago. You know, from the book I read, I saw they mentioned how China, Brazil, Kenya, I think, or one other African country, we are underdeveloped. And this book is a very old book. And when I saw that statement, I was like, wow. So you mean the developed countries today, we are in the same as my country years ago. So Brazil was in the same league as Nigeria many years ago. China was in the same league as as Nigeria many years ago. But years after, Nigeria is still on the list. Many countries are still on the list. That's a big trouble. So imagine if my desire is to simply leave the environment. For how long will my roots continue to be poor, unhealthy, and uninhabitable for people? Then pull the world to your locale, pull the world to your immediate environment. Regardless of whether to stay, if the decision is to stay, the idea should be, hey, I want to pull the world to my locale. While I was still in Nigeria, I mentioned partnerships earlier. I was doing things with people from other parts of the world, but for Africa, for Nigeria, because you see, you can create value where you are and call the attention of the world. Recently, there was this chaos in Russia, and you know the US has played so much of ban, because of this Russian and Ukraine war. But this crisis in Russia had to do with natural gas. Because the US depended on natural gas, guess what? The US began to show concern for what's happening in Russia. And the US never placed a ban on natural gas. You see, why? Because the US needs natural gas from Russia. Even though Russia is portrayed as their enemy, or they are doing everything they can to fight Russia through Ukraine or with Ukraine, whichever the case may be, but they would not dare place sanctions on natural gas because they need natural gas. They will show concern for the chaos in Russia because Russia has what they need. So regardless of whether to stay or to travel, can I create something that would call the attention of the world, such that if I sneeze in my own location, the world would rush to take good care of me? We had a crisis in my school some months ago. 3 or 4 people died, students, and it became a global news. It's like, my goodness, I came from a place where hundreds of people could die, and the news only stayed local or maybe national. If it goes global by any means, before you know, a few days, a few weeks, it's going to die off, go down. Why? Because it seems my own location does not have what may call the attention of the world so much. And if it does, both citizens and leaders are not doing a good job in making sure that it becomes really valuable for the people and the country. Pull the world in your own locale, regardless of the decision to either stay or to travel. Then disrupt the power equation. My intention, where I know I have traveled from, because I definitely did not leave Nigeria. I did travel from Nigeria, and my intention is to disrupt the power equation. It's such that we can have people who would begin to take responsibilities, people who would become leaders, who will create value, people who would, imagine when we had COVID, we had business people donating money to the country. That's what we're talking about. We have those were not people who are political leaders, but they have respect. I saw how Elon Musk traveled. I think it was this Saudi Arabia or so. The monarch requested, of course, had to see him. Same thing with Mark Zuckerberg when he traveled to Nigeria. That's a businessman. That's not a political leader. Businessman. But the president saw a young business guy. Why? He had value to deliver. I think recently Bill Gates traveled to Nigeria. That's not a political leader. But again, that is someone who has value to deliver. Imagine if we begin to have people who have value to deliver. If your intention to either travel or stay is to create value that you can deliver such that you will disrupt the system, that's what I recommend. Japa or stay, regardless, disrupt the power equation. Then vaccinate yourself against the disease of the system. Many people would say Nigeria is spoiled, or Kenya, whatever it is. That's true. But the people who did that were human beings, were young people. I've said that before. But that is not reason enough for us to decide to act evil or decide to dispense evil, bad, to begin to hurt people, people would say, the system is evil. I bet that's how Nigeria is. And so they will begin to cheat each other, cheat themselves. And that's why I now call it the disease of the soul. I don't have so much of time in this conversation, but I would have really spent time talking about the disease of the system and the disease of the soul. But let me quickly say that Nigeria is not working. That's the disease of the system. But that you are not working is now the disease of your own soul. It's the disease of your soul. Nigeria is not working well. That is not fine. We're trusting God. We are working on making it happen. We are working on making things change. But that's not reason enough for me to not work. It's not reason for me to want to, what's this English word again? Exploit my neighbor. It's not reason for me to want to do evil to my friend. It's not reason enough for me to want to create disparity between me and another person because we are different. Our skin is different. Our languages are different. That's a disease of the soul. I don't want to take too much time. So Egypt or GELA, Egypt and GELA. I just want to conclude very soon. This is another line of thought in answering the question Japa will stay. And this is biblical. It's a biblical concept in Genesis 26. It's a story told of Isaac. He wanted to leave Gera and travel to Egypt. Egypt is a very beautiful place, like the picture you will see on the left. Awesome. Things are happening in Egypt. And the Lord told him to stay in Gera. Stay in the place that has so much of chaos. Stay in the place that has famines, famine. As at then, there was so much famine in Gera. People were really hungry. And the way the Bible puts it, it says that it was yet another famine that was after the famine in the time of Abraham. So it's like when you say we are moving from Buhari's era to Tinubu's era, that was the exact same thing. It's like you're moving from next level to renewed Shege. So there was famine in the when it was Abraham's time. Now Isaac's time in Gera, there was even much more famine, and so Isaac wanted to travel out of Gera, but the Lord says, "Stay in Gera." And that was the exact same thing. That was exactly what Isaac did. And what happened was tremendous. Isaac grew so much. Isaac began to attract the world to Gera. Isaac became the envy of the Philistines in Gera. Isaac prospered so greatly in Gera, where the Lord asked him to stay. I'm sharing this opinion to say that there is, for a set of people, a kind of decision they would have to make depending on what the Lord had said. Because the outside world may be so beautiful, but if the Lord says otherwise, man, I strongly advise stay. I've had this experience many times, and with many things, even with my traveling from Nigeria. It wasn't me wanting to just, hey, leave the country. I told you of 5 reasons that I came up with that were very, very selfless. Had nothing to do about me. And I knew that even the law would have me travel out of the country. So what's your own Egypt? US, UK, and what's your own Gera? Are you the kind of person who is spiritually inclined like me that the Lord may say? And I'm not saying the Lord has said, but I'm only pointing the fact that there are cases like that for people who would stay simply because the Lord said so. And it may not be a convenient decision to make, but it's going to be an awesome decision. So you are the kind of person we need if your reason to travel or stay is selfless. If you want to stay back in the country because it's from a selfless desire, there is something you really want to create, then stay. If you want to travel from the country because there is something you want to create for the country and you would really need that opportunity to travel, please travel. See, I was in Lagos for the first time, I think it was in 2020 or so, or 2021. Yeah, I think 2021. And I saw great structures people were building in Lekki. I'm like, is this not the same country that every people complain of poverty, but in the midst of this hunger and poverty, people are still raising structures? So when I saw that, my eyes opened. I'm like, we really need to expose our eyes to many great things, to many views. Please wrap up. We would love to comment. Yeah. To expose your eyes to things. That's what I'm saying. If you need to travel out to expose your mind and your eyes to things, simply to create value for your immediate environment, please do so. Thank you very much for good listening.
All right. Thank you very much, Paninga, for a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful presentation and for walking us through your experience and addressing so many of the root causes of why people want to stay, and also talking us through, regardless of what decision should be, whether we're staying or we are leaving, we should always create value, always try to dissolve the power equation. Beautiful presentation. All right, let us move ahead. So if you have any question for the speaker, kindly indicate with your digital hand. You may also want to use the chat box, but kindly indicate your digital hand if you have a question for the speaker. All right, anyone? Okay, I believe the presentation was well, good, and perfect. Since there's no question. All right. Thank you very much, Paninga, for spending your time to talk us through this topic and for addressing. I think we have a question. Okay, not the question. All right. Thank you very much, Paninga, for spending your time to talk us through this topic and beautiful, beautiful insights. The comparison between the time we get independence and now, the comparison with South Korea and the likes. Beautiful, beautiful session, beautiful presentation. We will definitely want to have you back another time. Definitely want to have you back another time. So thank you very much. Also to the audience, thank you very much for spending your time to join us on the call. Okay, Simon, do you have a question? I can see your chats and seems like you have a question. Simon Adoy, if you have a question, just unmute and speak, please. Simon Adoy. All right. Ubumene
I think
Abel.
Olu. Oh yeah. I guess you may have to unmute Obumene before he or
Okay.
she can ask.
Abel. Speak now.
Mine is not necessarily a question. I really enjoyed the talk this evening, and I just feel there's a lot of work we have to do as Africans because our mindset has been bastardized over the decade, and there's just so much we have to change, especially here in Nigeria, because the average person does not believe Nigeria can get out of whatever mess that we're currently in. Like, if you just try to take a sample, just sample the thoughts of people randomly on the streets, most people don't believe that that is possible. So I don't know whether I think I can even ask a question. Do you think there are programs, things that people can begin to do to re-instill that mindset into the thoughts, into the mindset, into the thought process of ordinary Nigerians? And we're not talking of people who are so educated, just ordinary people, wheelbarrow pushers, like very simple people who may not even have so much academic education. How do we go about it? What kind of national orientation program can people just create to begin to, re-instill this kind of thought pattern into the minds and thought processes of Nigerians.
Okay, thank you very much.
You can go ahead.
Would you? Okay. So I just thought right now about a project that I did before, and I reached out to someone, asked for, I think I got the recommendation from someone. So I reached out to him, told him this is what we are doing. At the time, we are doing it in Japa State, and he said to me, "When will you do it in my own state?" So I'm like, I know we have the intention to expand, but not yet. But guess what? For that's for because we are not doing it in a state, he failed or refused to make contribution. Now that's within Nigeria. So I think we do need to be personally deliberate about even investing in the person next door. That's where it starts from. Because we spoke of value, creating value for the country. If you cannot create value for your immediate neighbor, you probably have no business creating value for the nation. Because the nation is many people. The nation is not it's not just random numbers. It's 200 million people. And if you cannot create value for one person, how confident are we that you would create value for 200 million? If you can't do for one person something simply because he or she is a Muslim, or the person is Igbo, Yoruba, or maybe my tribe, then how confident are we that you can do that for the nation? So wheelbarrow pushers, do what you can for the people next door and tell them this is how we are going to make the country better. Encourage the person to do the same. So I told my team, I said, and I even wrote something recently that I have not shared with them yet. I was going to say that our project is not just doing projects. Our project is doing project that makes people do projects. Because if we stop at simply executing projects, we've not done so well yet. But if we do the kind of project that will make everybody want to do a project, everybody wants to create value, yes, that's the kind of project that will make the country and the nation, the continent change. So do for one person, inspire and encourage them to do for other people. And like I said, pull the word if you can, using social media to create some value. Begin somewhere before you know it's going to blossom. And this may not be a day or a week or a year project, but I think it's a step in the right direction.
All right, thank you, Paninga. We also have a question in the chat box from Rachel. The question is, how do I do better? I was trying to discuss with some people about having values that will make them resourceful. And then what they always ask me is, do you have finance to get the values you need? So before you address that question, I also have Simon Adoyi, who is on his wrist. Simon, you can speak now. Try and unmute and speak.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. Yes, I am Mr. Simon from Nigeria.
Yes,
Hello?
Simon, good evening. Yeah, good evening, Simon.
All right. Thank you, the speaker. Thank you for a very wonderful moment. God bless you. More grace to your elbow, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right. Mine is a suggestion. Hello?
Yes, Simon. Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher with I work with youth, young teenagers, and to my surprise, a lot of them also are beginning to feel discouraged and feel nothing good can come out of this country. The mindset of Japa, as young as they are, have already begun to sink into their brain. So I want to suggest I'm also a part-time lecturer with a private university. So, and the way this issue of Japa, the way they see it's very serious, as if they don't believe something good can come out of this country. So I want to suggest if you can write to the Minister of Education or those in charge of Nigerian curriculum, if they can bring in a topic that has to do with believing in this country, that it's not about going out. It's not about Japa, that they can stay here and make things work for them. No matter how bad it is, that things can still work. So that they'll be not begin to look down or just believe that nothing good can come out from this place. Just like you said, I like that aspect when you talk about mindset, because it's the issue of mindset that matters. Even if they travel out of this country with that mindset, it's still there won't be much result. So their mindset should be coined, should be reversed. I don't know what else I'm trying to say. Hello?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
So yes, so please, if they could be something to added to their curriculum, to right from, in fact, even from the primary school, secondary school, up to the university, concerning this, it will go a long way in reducing the number of traveling out, number of interested Nigerians trying to travel out of this country. I don't know whether I understand what I'm trying to say. Hello? Hello, are you me?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, good.
Yeah, thank you. That's very awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's good to get involved, stakeholders, leaders, and organizations like this great body that is hosting us. It's a good thing to do. I have an initiative, and we trust that we would also find ways to do this also. It would be awesome. But I also believe advocacy, talking about it over and over again, using our platforms. If all of us can become advocates for this kind of change, it will do a whole lot. I mean, 22 people on this call. If you decide that you're going to be an advocate for change, everything is going to start from you. It will be a good place to start, because you will spread that influence to other people. So yeah, thanks for that brilliant comment. I really appreciate that. So Mubarak, would you like me to address that question in the chat about values, something?
Yes, please.
Okay. So maybe just one response. I have been in that situation where I had no cash. I didn't have money, but I knew what I wanted. I knew the value I needed, even though I had no money. So I'll just give you just one. So there's this great woman in the city of Jos. I saw how busy she was. I knew I had value to offer her. I knew I could write. So I write very well. I knew I could do some things with social media. I knew I could think, I could create ideas, I knew I could lead. And I saw how busy she was. She would need my help. So what I did, I sent her a message. I said, Ma, I see how busy you are. Can I be your personal assistant? Guess what? She told me no. Oh, I knew I really need that. I wasn't asking for a job. She said no. I asked her after some weeks or so, I asked her again. She said no. So one time I now wrote her, I now crafted the message I sent to her. I said, Dear Ma, I don't remember the complete content anyways, but I told her that I'm not asking you for a job, honestly. I'm just asking for an opportunity to be of value to you. Eventually, she said yes to me. And guess what? Those few months I worked with her as personal assistant were some of the best months I have experienced, even in my shaggy years. I told you about my shaggy years. Because she drew me close. You know what it means to be a personal assistant to someone who has influence. So I was learning everything she knows. I had access to her contacts. I didn't have money, Abby, so no money, but now I was learning from her directly. We were planning our programs together. We were traveling together for our programs. I was meeting with her. She was confiding in me to tell me things, how she runs her own programs. Those are things some books may not necessarily give me. And even the books that I buy is the experience of the authors, right? But now it's more like an author giving me her own experience. I didn't have to buy a book. So I don't have money, but I offered value. So if you don't have money, look for people you can offer value to. Send them an email. See, I've done that many times. I've sent emails to someone on LinkedIn. Right now, she's now one of the people I call my mom. She's in Australia. I've never seen her before, but she values me so well. That's the exact same thing I did. I have friends in South America, professors in South America. I've never seen them before. That's the exact same thing I did. they are partners of my program, like what I do in Pani World Foundation. They are partners and they will forever be. Those are people who still invest in me. And it all starts from sending an email, sending a message of how can I help, or maybe something they wrote and I'm appreciating them, or buying their books. Recently I bought 2 books from these South American authors. Guess what? Those books are in Spanish language. I cannot read A. I don't know A in Spanish language. But I bought those books because I want to invest in their relationship. Now, I don't have money, but it's not so much of money. It's small money I could spare, right? And it's going to give me more access. There are people who, by simply spending that 2K, that 3K, that 4K to buy their books, you get access to them. So use the small money you have, find ways to add value to people. Honestly, you wouldn't have to worry about finance being a challenge to not having value. This is just a bit of my experience, and I hope you found this.
All right, thank you very much, Paninga, for addressing all of the questions. Double appreciation to the questionnaires themselves. Thank you very much, everyone. So, the founder of GELA, Dr. Favor, I believe you have something to say before we wrap up. Dr. Favor, over to you, please. Dr. Favor.
Oh, he's muted. I think you may have to unmute him.
Okay. Dr. Favor, you can speak
All
now,
right.
please.
Good day, everyone. Um, Greetings from this end. I want to first of all thank God for granting us this opportunity to have this meeting, and also thank the speaker for this um awesome presentation. When I got the recommendation from one of our admin members that we are gonna be considering this topic for this month, and this is of course I don't make all the recommendation for speakers. Okay, so it's always people suggesting, and then in fact I was amazed when I joined this call and I got value. So thank you so much for this session. Thank you so much for the contribution that you have made to the participants, the value that they got from this program. For everybody that joined, I just want to leave a word with you, and you know, um, we are complaining about Nigeria, about Africa, about different things in different part of the world, different solution problems we have, But someone said something that everything rises and falls on leadership. John Maxwell, all right? Everything rises and falls on leadership. And the thing is this, we are going to be, if we keep complaining about the situation, the problem will remain where it is. One of the best ways to solve a problem is for you as an individual to take initiative, all right? And this is one thing we are doing at GELA, hosting programs like this to orient ourselves, to change our narrative, to change the narrative, to change our mindset. I'm happy that a lot of us right here who participated in this program, we now have a different mindset about it. We can go out there and spread the news, tell people how best they can create change and become ambassadors for good. And one of the other things we also do as well is the fact that, I heard a lot of people talk about curriculum and all that. Changing curriculum is privately okay, but it's not as easy, okay, as it is. So some small initiatives that can be done might just be um leading leading projects, the SDGs the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, there are about 17 of them. So what we try to encourage people, even in programs that like the mentorship program which we run, is kind of identify an SDG to affiliate yourself with, then identify a problem in your community, identify a problem in your city, your state, or wherever you are, and then try to find solution to this problem. If you have found a solution to a problem, your value orientation will change. You will start having, nobody will tell you to love Nigeria. Nobody will tell you to love your country, to love the place where, this problem you're solving is based. So even if you want to travel out, that bond will still be there. That bond to want to create change and also impact those people in that place will still be there. So that's one of the great way to change the narrative. Let everybody start project. Let every young person start thinking of a solution, thinking of a solution to the problems in their community. With that mindset, all right, even if you choose to stay or you choose to go, you necessarily may not even have to wait for the federal government or wait for anybody. Just by just little initiatives, you have your mindset will change, your ideologies will change because the more you start trying out to implement some problems, to implement solutions to some problems, the more you get to see better from different perspectives about how you could solve that problem. And this is how we started. And that took us from where we were back then in university to where we are right now in partnership with some multinationals. So I want to say thank you once again to the guest speaker and to every other person who joined the call. I guess moderator, I'm done. Thank you. Over to you. If you have an announcement, you can go ahead. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Favor, for those words. So for the announcement, GELA prestigious global mentorship program is currently ongoing. We have the core 10 currently ongoing. We also have a coming conference. Dr. Favor, we want to speak more on that. And yes, this our monthly conference holds every month. So definitely there's going to be another topic next month, and we hope you are going to join us next month as well. And also expect a games night next month. It should be another games night next month. And trust me, it's going to be very, very entertaining and educative as well, like it has always been. So, the favor, you want to speak more on the conference?
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So we have a conference that's coming forth every year. We usually have an international conference. It's called the Young Changemakers Conference. Is one of the biggest conferences you can think of that impacts young people, especially in Africa. So of course, it started in a very small way back then, and while in school. But right now, the conference is now international, is global, and this is the seventh edition. So this is YCC 7.0, and it's going to hold in Nigeria. Last year, it held in Ghana. So I'm encouraging everybody to start planning towards participating physically and probably online for the conference. We're also inviting we're going to invite some guest speakers, and we're going to announce some things about the conference, but it's really going to be exciting because we are trying to have some collaborations with some international bodies like the United Nations Information Center and all that. So please plan to be around for YCC this year. It's November this year, and it's going to hold at Abuja. It's a camping program. It's an in-residence program, sorry, which is going to start from around kind of 16th to 18th of November. Yeah, around that period. So you're going to get the information on the group chat. If you're not on the group chat yet, I've told them to share the group chat link on this chat box. Previously, I guess that will be shared shortly. All right, have a great day, everyone. Back to you, moderator.
All right, thank you very much, Doctor, for speaking about the conference. All right, so thank you everyone for spending your time to join us on the call. of appreciation to the speaker for taking us through his wonderful presentation as well. Everyone.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Mubarak, please. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so we are also calling for volunteers. So we have like 5 team. So if you're interested to be a volunteer in GELA, so we have some committee that you can join, such as the graphics design, the virtual events management team. That's just like online compare what Mubarak just did this night. We have the social media influencers, we have the ICT, and we have the content creator or and the blogging team. So anyone you're interested, so I've shared the link to join the group. So you can join the WhatsApp group to get more information. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Faith, for that. All right, this is a wrap for today. Thank you very much. Hoping to see you next month. Bye for now.
Mubarak, sorry, Prince hands that raised. I don't know if it was before or just now, but I can see Prince, but his hands are raised.
Okay, hi, Botchwe. Hi, Botchwe, you can hear me? You can speak now.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, sorry. Thanks so much. I was yes, sorry for joining late. I'm very sorry. I went to a corporate event and I've not even gotten home, but I just joined on the way. Yeah, so I was asking the events to be held online. Are we if it's going to be in person in Nigeria or the country that is going to be hosted, if we are going to be joining virtual for those not at the location, how do we get to take part in the event? I don't know if you heard my question.
Okay, if I had your question rightly, your question is on the YCC conference,
Why
right?
what? Come again, come again. I don't know what you said.
Was a question on the YCC conference when you were asking if